about skateboarding, but you're just not very good at jumping up and down on your favorite piece of wood. Crab skateboarding, crab skateboarding podcast.
Bro, are you okay?
Hello and welcome to this Crap Skateboarding podcast, a weekly dive into skateboarding for the average skater, hosted by me, James.
And me, Jack.
In this podcast, two distinctly average skaters will try to cover pretty much everything you might want to know about skating, from total beginners to midlife crisis shredders.
Each week, we will be discussing a range of exciting topics regarding skateboarding in these uncertain times.
And this week, Jack, what's our topic?
Drum roll, please.
Creating a skateboarding
brand!
Every damn time.
Are we supposed to go like, way? Or
I mean,
do
you know what? If you want to clap, I'm not against it. That's fine.
About that.
Couple of the other podcasts, I did hear it before. I like it.
Usually people just roll their eyes a little bit and let us get on with it. So thank you for tolerating us.
Last time I got a bollocking for waking up the baby, so I was trying to be a bit more careful this time. And we are joined this week by two guests for the first time ever. We have two guests this week. We have David from ONDA Skateboards. Hi, David.
Hello, good evening. Or
Hi,
good
thanks
morning in podcast world. Whatever time of day you're listening to this one.
I think it goes out at midnight, I think. Just because I'm lazy.
Wishing everyone pleasant dreams. I hope you'll sleep very well.
The early birds.
And we are also joined by Faze. Hello, Faze.
How's it going, guys? Hope you were having a blessed evening.
Yeah, thank you so
Good to
much
have
for
you
joining us, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Anytime. All right. Would you be happy? So, Dave, you're the owner, is that right, of ONDA Skateboards?
Yeah, the owner, the founder, I suppose. Yeah.
Great.
My little baby.
Yeah. Tell us all about it.
So I guess, every kid skateboarding has that dream of being, the pro skater. Who wouldn't want to be like Nigel or like Tony Hawk's? You want to be that guy doing the sick tricks, getting filmed and making money from it, right? I've reached an age where that doesn't seem very likely anymore.
It's a hard fact to face, isn't it?
I wouldn't say for certain.
Hard moment.
Remaining hopeful, but if it's not going to be me that's going to be sponsored, wouldn't it be cool if we could sponsor people? Wouldn't it be cool if we could provide that sort of leg up to young and aspiring skaters to help them fulfill their dreams, and for us in return, we'll just have a really good time along the way. So that's really what this whole thing is about. That's basically why we decided to start this brand, ONDA Skateboards.
Oh, that's awesome. So how long have you guys been going on now? How old is the brand?
So the brand isn't very old at all. We launched, sort of the idea came to me, I'd say July, August of last year. And from there, we just went with it. We got some sample decks in, and eventually we were ready. We had our design and have a little bit of a background in sort of e-commerce and building websites and that sort of thing. So we launched just before Christmas, and here we are in March, a few months later, and seeing some very exciting things happen.
Exciting. And can you, sorry, Faze, to bring you in, could you give us a little bit, explain your relationship to David and everything that he's doing?
For me, it was I started skating in April. I picked up a board after I bought one for my son, and kind of fell obsessed with it. So I was out pretty much as much as I could during the lockdown. I was just pretty much skating, and I was also in maternity, so my missus had given birth at the time. So I had a lot of, when they were while the kids and missus were asleep, I was out skating basically. And I met David and his business partner Avi a couple of times at the skate park. But what drew me to them was one day we turned up, and I think it had been raining the day beforehand, and I think it was a week before they had mentioned it. I didn't take no heed of it, but they said they're going to come back with squidgies next week because it was unable to skate. So they came back and they literally, for about an hour, maybe 2 hours, they wiped down the whole skateboard so kids could, all of us could skate with all the kids, man. So I think that's what kind of pushed me towards further liking the characters of both of them. And I could see with that, it kind of resonated with because I live on a council estate on where the skate park is. So for me, I see a lot of the underprivileged kids not getting the opportunity to do things, and I see these lot helping them out, and that kind of drew me towards them, trying to build a relationship with the guys. And I found that they are genuinely nice guys. So that's how I met David and Avi initially. Like I met them through, I think after about 3 months that we started chatting properly when I met the two together.
That's lovely. I think we've spoken on the podcast before about what drew us into skating as kids, and it really was that sense of community, which I think in some respects is really getting stronger, and it's great to hear that it's alive and well and that it's still drawing people in. That's really great. And so you're a year in, how do you feel you're getting on?
I'm loving it, man. I'm obsessed. I wish I could have picked up a board a lot earlier in life, man. I definitely wish I did. I mean, I had people around me skate, I just never touched the board. Always fascinated me. But after I bought the board for my son, it was just staring at me, and I said, you know what, if I get on it, maybe he will learn. He maybe want to learn himself. He'll see me fall, get back up. I think life throws things at you. I feel like through skateboarding, I've come to understand that you fall, you get back up, and you try again and again. You could be at a spot non-stop trying to hit the same thing. And I feel like if I'm able to do that with skateboarding, I can do that with other things in my life as well, where I previously
absolutely.
It's opened up a different place in my own mindset, if you know.
That's beautiful, man.
That's something that's come up time and time again, actually, isn't it? Is that skaters tend to be really, really resilient for that exact reason. It's very much a process of stacking it over and over again and just keeping on trying over and over again. It really does build that kind of resilience. And I think it's brilliant that you've kind of brought this brand, David, up and you've immediately got a community sort of straight away before the brand's even sort of conceptualized. You're there helping out the community and helping people skate straight away. I mean, we always looked up to the older dudes. I mean, we grew up in deepest, darkest Cornwall, and we always looked up to the older dudes when we rocked up to the skate park, and they were doing the same thing, squeegeeing off the ramps and waxing up the ledges and making it skatable for everyone. It's you meet people, you make friends, even if you pop up to a skate park, you know, once or twice, you make single serving friends for that day, you know, and like you forge long relationships, and it's brilliant thing for everyone to be doing together.
We really wanted this brand to be about the community, because like on a personal note, you know, it's not been easy times for anyone right now, and I'll admit, like, I've had some pretty rough times personally, mentally, and to have that outlet and that community, the ability to still sort of socialize, even though strictly speaking it's against sort of the lockdown laws, but skateboarding for some reason is being tolerated, and I thank God for that, because it's kept me sane through this whole period. So I feel really fortunate that I'm still doing this sport, to be honest, and grateful to that community, and our local skate park. We're really lucky. We've got a really good local skate park. It's brand new, like really good flow, good features, and we're lucky to have that. And yeah, I just feel grateful to the council and to, I don't know, who do you thank for this? And yeah, just the local community, because it's good people, good vibes.
So whereabouts are you guys from then?
Northwest London, both us.
Do you know, I would say London is awesome for that. I lived in London for a year. Square comment alert now. When I was becoming a teacher, I trained in London, and more southwest London. But I spent a lot of time in Putney, around that area. There was a rad little tiny like mini bowl in Putney that I was in love with. But I'd say that all the friends I made in London were through skateboarding. That was where I met people, and I think that London, more so than Cornwall, where we grew up. I mean, there was a great community where we were, but I think because you are used to, probably it's fair to say you're used to crowds more than we were down in the countryside, you know. And I think that there was that immediacy of people just walking up to you and chatting. You know, immediately I was in a skate shop, I'd snapped my deck, a guy came up and just started talking to me, and we were, you know, the next day we were on the tube, like he was just showing me around like all these different spots that he liked to skate.
Yeah, I think it's sort of punches well above its weight. You know, people don't think on a global scale. People don't look at London and think, oh, London's the dream skate destination, like they would about, say, Los Angeles or Barcelona, for example. But yeah, I think the scene here punches well above its weight, and we're lucky to be a part of it.
Great. David, how did you get into skateboarding?
More than its fair share of
So how did I get into it? I got in. So I started when I was younger. I was at 11 years old. I was very good at like cruising. Couldn't do any tricks. I was just goddamn awful. Didn't really know how to ollie or anything other than just cruising. But I was quite stable on the board. And then somehow I managed to get my year 10 work experience doing a job at Base 66. I don't know if you've heard of that skate park.
Yeah, I've been to that skate park.
PlayStation skate park.
That was the one, yeah. I think I just sent, they told us at the beginning of the year, they said like, oh, you've got to do a work experience. You know, so everyone was looking at sort of office jobs and really dull stuff. And I thought, I can't do that. It's not for me. Here I am today working in an office. But yeah, I thought, okay, I know what I'll do. So I emailed the skate park. I said, hey, take me on. And they said, all right. And yeah, so I spent my year 10 work experience in the skate park, which was pretty sick. So that definitely helped me improve and sort of further cemented me into the sport. The funny thing was that when we got back from the work experience, everyone was, they were doing a little group session and everyone was saying, so what did you learn in your work experience? And one guy's like, oh, I learned how to file a set of chartered accounts for a company. And the next guy, oh, I learned how to deal with complex customer service issues. And like, David, what is it you learned in your week? And I was like, I learned to drop in on the mini ramp.
Yes.
So it's sort of, yeah. So that was that. But then I took a long break from it, and it was only during lockdown that I got back into it. So not only did I start skateboarding again, but also ended up starting a little brand as well along the way.
That's really cool.
Oh, so actually you and Faze started, you know, near enough, neck on neck, same time then. That's great.
Yeah.
So like we're nearly, like, David, you're nearly 30 right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're 28.
Yeah. So I feel like my legs are definitely not what they used to be, man. I think I picked it up quite well, like in terms of quickness. I think because I've done previous sports. So I used to sprint for the borough. I played football, a bit of basketball here and there. But again, when we talk about sense of community, I never felt, even with the gym, I never felt that you don't feel that same aspect. You got all these team sports, but everyone's shouting at you or you're shouting back at someone. There's a big, massive ego. I feel like with skateboarding, with the community, because everyone tends to leave their egos at home when they get to the skate park, or they leave it just outside the skate park because they've all been through the same madness of falling, getting back up, falling. So I feel like that's another thing that I think people within the skate community appreciate about each other.
It's humbling. Skateboarding is humbling, and
100%.
Yeah, and it doesn't have that same competitive aspect. Like yourself, I used to be a sprinter back in the day, and I a hurdler, and it was very much that. It was looking for that extra 1% constantly. Everyone looking for extra 1%, trying to push themselves as much as they could, and there wasn't really the time to enjoy it. Whereas with skateboarding, yeah, you're trying tricks, but you at the same time you're back up, you're down to earth, you're enjoying it. And it's really unique in that kind of aspect. And do you know what? Going back to what David said about the mini ramp, I would argue that learning to drop in the mini ramp is a more impressive achievement for work experience than learning to file some spreadsheets, because
yeah, man, the coolest kid in your year.
Like 95% of people will come back having learned something that millions and millions of people do day to day. Being able to drop in a mini ramp, like you're in like the top 2% of people there. Like that's a real unique skill.
I bet the other kids thought you were cool as shit, man. That's really
I don't know. You know what? I think I used to think of myself like that, but I don't think that. I think that maybe it was jealousy, or they just thought I was a crackpot. I don't know.
So I'm really curious to know, David. I'm really curious to know, kind of, how did you start your brand? Because every skater known to man, every skater in existence has always gone, I'd love to start a brand. Love to start a brand. How did you go about it? How did you start it off?
So the first thing for me was like, just let's see about artwork. Let's see what sort of style would I think is pretty cool. I've always been inspired by Mexican themed art. So that candy skull is sort of a really distinctive Mexican image, part of distinct Mexican imagery with the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. And so I thought of that, and then I thought, with this COVID situation and everyone's being forced to wear masks, and it felt so bizarre to be in that situation because, that wasn't how you're not used to being around town and not being able to see people's faces and be able to communicate with them normally. And I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to just stick a mask on a skull? And once I had that design, I was like, okay, I knew you've got to stick this on a deck. So it was partly yes, we got the graphic designer in to make the design, and then it was about finding different wood shops and trying to find the different, where are we actually going to get these decks manufactured. We tried a few different places. We had decks coming from the States. We even had from Mexico City, going with that Mexican theme. And in the end, we found the wood shop that we were happy with and made an order, brought in some decks. I guess in a way, it's as simple as that.
I can see, actually, I was thinking since you've had your webcam on, we can see, obviously you won't be able to see it on the podcast, but David has got some graphics behind him and you can see the skulls. If you go to the ONDA Instagram page, you can see these, they're everywhere. They're a really cool logo, but I love that mask over the face, over the skull. I think that's brilliant. That's a really cool graphic.
And at the end of the day, we want it to be people walk into the shop and look at that and think, that's sick, I want to ride that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because, obviously there are brands that shape their decks and do all kinds of things like that. But so often we all pretend we're above it. We like to, we use the word poser and crap like that, but actually that's what's going to sell a deck. That's what we're really all looking at because so many decks are great. There's loads of brilliant skateboards. That's what separates them really. Ultimately, as long as you're getting it from a good wood shop, like you said, it's that catches your eye. And I must admit, when I was looking at your website, there's one in particular that I just thought it's a thing of beauty and I'm going to have to get it next payday. But it's the mariachi musician?
Yeah,
that's the one. So just to describe for the listeners, there's a deck, we'll link it in the bio for this episode, of a mariachi musician, Sugar Skull, Day of the Dead, skeleton in mariachi outfit, playing a trumpet, I think, with his COVID mask on, and the whole thing. It's just the colours, the different shades of blue. You can really, from just an artistic perspective, it's a beautiful object. It really is. It's almost too good to skate. I want it to hang on my wall.
I'm looking at this going, this is a wall deck. Like, I don't want to board slide that. This is a wall deck.
It just looks mad fun. It just looks like a lot of fun on the deck.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get railings for the first time for the side of my board just so that it doesn't touch the graphic.
Oh yeah, sick that you like our graphic, man. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, it's a really strong sort of brand image, kind of like Girl's got that Girl logo, really strong brand image. Are you is your plan going forward? Because obviously you've got some brands like Girl who will have that image in loads of different variations across their boards, and you've got some brands like Almost that have different theme sets that are completely unrelated from each other. Is this are you planning on keeping this sort of theme consistent around your deck and this be kind of like an iconic character, or are you going to have this as kind of like your overarching style but then release deck graphics that differ from it quite a bit? Kind of what's the target from that?
It's a really good question. And the truth is, I can't say I know for sure. To be honest, we're, as bad as this might sound, we're kind of winging it, from design to design. Overall themes that I do like is I love candy skulls, and I love the face mask, so long as that stays sort of relevant and still within the public lexicon. But that could become outdated very quickly, in which case we'll sort of move on. But the brand is called ONDA. ONDA is Mexican slang term, which means wave. So you might hear people in Mexico say things like, "Oh yeah, que onda," like that sort of thing. ONDA being what up, or how cool is that? So it works using Mexican imagery, and that country itself has such a rich history and rich culture with regards to design. So there's so much to play with there. But at the same time, we're very open-minded. I'd love to do stuff with local artists as well. especially if there's someone from our area who's got something really cool. Yeah, and even more so if it relates to a theme regarding our local skate scene, then we'd definitely be open to that. You asked about the designer. I have a few different graphic designers that I've worked with in the past and continue to work with today, and one in particular also from Mexico came up with that mariachi design based on some ideas that I had.
So just kind of, I've had this question in my head for a while. So Faze, what are you riding at the moment? There's no pressure to say ONDA. What's your setup? What are you riding?
I'm riding the Hated at the moment. So there's a company in London called the Hated that I picked up. So
Okay.
my first deck was a chocolate. I had a chocolate complete, so it was a
Nice.
75. So I was advised I should have had a bigger deck. So I didn't realize the thinness of it, and like I went and tried to do a little gap, and I just wouldn't stay on my feet. So I used another friend's board who had an H25, and I landed it first try. So I realized the bigger deck helped me out. It felt completely different. It felt like I was standing on the ground rather than on on a string, for example.
Yeah, popsicle stick.
Yeah. So I bought in I had a Palperator Bones. I think it's a Vatos Fox deck.
Oh,
So
yeah,
is that
another
85?
iconic graphic.
That I lent to a friend who snapped it, and then I bought the Hated deck. It's all right. It's all right. It was a good. He landed the trick, so it's all good. I'm riding a Hated at the moment with Spitfire wheels. I think they're the Chronicles.
Funny what you're saying about the tiny little board, because I stick to my guns. Like I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2". I've got size 13 feet, and for years, my whole skating life, I'm skating 775s.
Wow.
Right, and nothing else. And I've got quite good at flipping them, and only now that I'm bigger and heavier than I was when I was 15, 16, am I starting to realize I kind of refused to admit that I was too big for my boards. Like, and now I've got an 825, and I'm like, this is much easier. What have I been doing for the last 10 years?
Yourself in the butt.
It's ridiculous.
It's so much nicer to land on, isn't it? I've gone wide, much like James. I've got horribly, stupidly big feet, and I think just not heel dragging all the time, you know, because if you're trying to kickflip or something, most of your foot is off the board in effect. So it's just a nightmare. No, great. Fellas, there's a lot of DIY brands about. I think it's, again, a product of COVID maybe, is that everybody's feeling really creative. It's a brilliant thing. I've seen an awful lot of people going off with their own ventures, trying to really just get further, I guess, deeper into their hobby in a more creative level. For example, this podcast is James and I doing exactly that. This is our attempt at being creative within this hobby we love so much. So there's an awful lot going on at the moment. How do you ensure that your brand stands out? You know, in these times when so many people are starting brands, how do you make your brand stand out amongst the crowd?
So I'll admit that when I started this project with my partner Avi, my business partner, and he asked me, he said, you know, what is our USP? What is it that makes us special? And the truth was that I didn't have an answer then. Having spent some time sort of pondering it, I realized that one of the things that we'd stand for is, without question, is quality product. At the end of the day, we wouldn't want to sell it if we ourselves wouldn't ride it. And that's going to be one of the key ethoses of the brand, and that's going to stay throughout. As regards to how to stay relevant, what is it that we're doing differently to everyone else? I can't say that it's especially different to other brands, but we do really want to focus on our community and our local skate scene, because there's something very special about it. And if it presents our local skaters with an opportunity to take their skating to the next level, or even if it just gets, you know, a young kid into skating from a young age, it's a sport that's going to deeply enrich their life. So that's really what we want.
I wanted to add to that as a person who's not involved in the business. So even what he's saying, like as a USP, definitely the quality of the product. I've been on their boards, I've popped dollies on them, and they feel good. They've got a good pop on. But in terms of what Dave is talking about, going back to community again, there's examples where like Sunday. So Avi was in the park on Sunday. David, did you leave early on Sunday? Well, you were there.
I think I left round about when he did, but yeah, I was there for a few hours.
I think you were chilling at the time, but I don't know if you noticed Avi do this at the time, but I think there was a kid. He's just his dad was him at the park, and Avi could tell like Avi was trying for a little while he was learning something, a little nose slide on the mani pad, and I was trying to do something on the hip, but even while he was practicing, and obviously he's trying to land his trick, he's getting frustrated, but he noticed another kid on the side. And this kid, his dad was trying to explain. His dad obviously don't know nothing about skating. His foot position, everything was awful. So Avi stopped what he was doing, legit took him to the side and spent 20 minutes, maybe even half an hour, trying to teach him how to ollie. And let's say I'm not just saying this because like with me and David have not spoken about any of this prior to the podcast, but this is genuinely what I'm seeing. And I'm not one to blow someone else's trumpet for them, if you know what I mean. But I genuinely see that from David and Avi when it comes to the local community, even when they're speaking to like some of the boys that they've sponsored, especially there's one guy called Jordan, and I spoke to Jordan I think yesterday, the day before yesterday, and he himself, like, I've got a separate relationship with Jordan completely outside of his relationship with David, so it's completely separate. Like I met him on a separate platform, but even Jordan speaks highly of the way they're treating him and the way they're looking after him and the plans they have for Jordan and the other skaters that they've got potentially coming with them. They sound very promising, and I feel like Jordan's the way he's speaking about it resonates to me as well. I feel like like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is genuine, which is something that I'm rooting for them to do well and be successful within whatever they go forward in.
That's beautiful. This reminds me, not skateboarding related, but I suppose I can relate to this on some level. I used to, in a previous creative venture, me and a friend used to put on punk rock bands. We're both big fans of punk music, and we used to do like show promoting stuff like that. And we used to break even, maybe. Sometimes we'd make enough to buy a beer and a pizza, but it was never about that. But for us, we used to just love the fact that we wanted there to be a community around this niche thing that we loved, and we wanted to put on, like you've said about your boards, we wanted to put on shows that we would want to go to because we felt other people weren't doing it in quite a way that was meaningful to us. And I can really empathize with that. I guess as much as it is a brand, I suppose it's as much of a community. You're trying to foster something within your local community that you can all be a part of. And that sounds, that's admirable. That's fantastic. I can really get on board with that.
Do you know what? Just kind of listening to that and looking at this. Now, I'm no expert on deck design or company ethos in the slightest. I'm a horribly uncreative person, kind of generally speaking, which is why my creative outlet is talking. And just kind of looking at this and growing up years of skateboarding, flicking through all the sort of the catalogs, looking at all the decks online, looking at all the options, straight away, my eyes are drawn to your decks. So you've got your really, really awesome product design. You've got that incredibly sort of unique graphic. And not only that, you actually have a genuine relationship with your local skateboarders. And that's kind of three key things I think are really important in any skate brand. And just listening to Faze just now, you mentioned that you sponsor some kids. So what's going on there? How's that come about?
So yeah, we've obviously, I mean, every kid's sort of dream is to be sponsored, and but at the same time, we can't just hand them out just like that. It wouldn't make the business very profitable if we were giving away all the debt. Yeah. It wouldn't work. But we've identified a select bunch of skaters that we really think have massive potential. Faze mentioned Jordan. Jordan's just a beast, an absolute beast, and we're going to get an edit out with him. He unfortunately just injured himself, which is not ideal because it was using our deck. So I hope it wasn't related to. Hopefully not related to the fact it was our deck. Yeah, Jordan's a beast, and he could go very far. There's another kid I'm not actually going to mention because we want to do some sort of launch, make a big thing out of it. And this kid as well is just tremendous potential. And I have this sort of ridiculous, lofty dream, but I mentioned it to Avi when we started this, and I said, skateboarding is going to be in the Olympics, 2021 Tokyo and beyond. And one day I want to see someone from TGB standing up there with, gold medal. He's going to have flowers in his left hand, and in his right hand he's going to have one of our ONDA decks. Now, admittedly, I think that should that happen, they'll probably want to go with the bigger brands, because the bigger brands will probably be offering them something much more lucrative than what we can. But one can dream. The sky's the limit for us.
Everything starts from the ground up, and the vast majority of deck designs, the vast majority of high-tier decks are from the US. And if you've got GB athletes representing the UK and Great Britain, then imagine they'll be holding UK hardware.
Nothing would make me more proud if they came from our local skate scene. That would just be, it would just show, you can come from, the estates in Northwest London and make something, become an athlete, become an Olympian potentially. Like the world is our oyster. We live in a generation where anything is possible. Anything you want to do, it's no longer out of reach. So, the youth today need to really be inspired, dream big, go, reach for the stars, go for it. There's no excuses anymore.
And have you got, sort of completely relating to that, have you got any sort of plans? You've mentioned a video edit. Are you making a full-length video, like a feature documentary? Are you putting out edits on sort of YouTube? What's your sort of plan to get these kids out there? How are you showing them to the world?
Well, I think the key is the easiest way to get the content to them is through things like YouTube and Instagram. So that's going to be our focus for now, mostly on the Instagram side of things. And then eventually, I would love to build up. In theory, I would love to be producing some really amazing content for YouTube. Helps further promote the brand whilst also adding value to the viewers. Something that's entertaining or educational or just inspiring, or if it's just a good bit of skateboarding or something funny. The skateboarding companies tend to form into several micro companies in a way. They tend to be a YouTube brand also, which is itself a media company, and then at the same time they can become an apparel company doing clothing lines and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but wherever we end up, it's going to be somewhere very exciting.
Nice. I have a question, and it might be a really silly question. You can tell me if it is. Have any other brands influenced your brand for better or for worse? I know that you mentioned every child's dream is to kind of either be a sponsored skateboarder or to start a skate company. I know I used to draw deck graphics and things like that as a child.
Yeah, we had how many videos, sponsor me tapes we made?
This is it. And I gravitate towards your graphics because I'm one of these people. I'm anything with a skull on, I gravitate towards. I was very much, I like Death Skateboards because it's got a big skull on it, and I like Zero because it's got a big skull on it. I like Blind because it's got a big skull on it. And I was very much, there's an aesthetic that really appealed to me. And I know that if I was to do it, I know that I would unavoidably just be influenced. And that's not a bad thing, but are there any brands that have influenced you for better or for worse?
From the States, you've got Revive, and they have some sort of connection with Braille as well. What they've done is phenomenal. Using purely through the medium of YouTube, they've built a brand. The brand came as an afterthought to the YouTube channel, and they've been tremendously successful. They're stocked globally, so definitely inspired by them in terms of business, how they accomplished that through their achievements are by no means insubstantial. In terms of sort of stylistic things, I think fabric decks in the UK have got a really cool, there's something about their style that just screams awesomeness. I don't know how to describe it. They're just fabric decks are definitely the type of decks you want to stick on the wall, in my opinion. They just look so lush. And some other and also any sort of established UK brand is in my eyes, that's an admirable achievement, and I have the utmost respect for those businesses and what they've accomplished.
I think that when you look at the kind of the global market for skateboarding, where you have the video games largely produced in America, and we've all grown up watching American professional skateboarders largely, maybe there were exceptions like Jeff Rowley, who was wonderful because he was the exception, among all of those. But I think really being a successful UK brand to whatever scale, like you said, having an established UK-based brand is such an achievement in itself, I think, because you don't have the same platform that American brands have. You just don't have that. So I think that's really true. And I think it's a brilliant thing. I think if you can shop UK, do it. There's so much good stuff around.
Agreed. Yeah. And the GDP of the United States is still larger than the GDP of Europe, I believe. So, I mean, or sadly of the Eurozone.
But equally, those barriers are being eroded. The internet is eroding those barriers. You can get your product out. You can put an advert out, and you can specify, I want people in the US to see that. I want somebody in Israel to see that. You can promote your brand worldwide now with very little money and very little effort. So those barriers are gradually being eroded. So the opportunities for launching a huge brand from your bedroom in the UK are there. Unless
James, you call your podcast Crap Skateboarding, and then you're not allowed to advertise. And
I was wondering about that. Is that happened to you? Is Google's...
Yeah, we got blocked.
It's been permanent. What was stupid though is they told us off the first time. They didn't let us run the advert. They just told us off, and we said, "Oh, fair enough." And then we ran one that was called like Terrible Skateboarding, I think. That was fine, and they ran that, and it worked. It was great. It was really successful. We tried to run it again. And they went, hold on a minute. When you click on that, it takes you to a podcast called Crap Skateboarding. And they sent us a bollocky email. We appealed it, and now they've said, no, this decision's final. Don't try again. Yeah, that's it.
So relying on the community to get the word out. Sorry?
I said it's gonna work. One thing I realized with the skate company, they're there. They're with it with each other. Even like there's a company called Keep Rolling Company. She turned up at the park the other day and she was cleaning all the kids' bearings.
Wicked!
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't even think that would be a thing.
That's
I'll give her a shout out. Her name is Rachel, and she's pretty cool person.
So
what's the company called?
Keep Rolling.
Rolling Company. She goes by the name of Rachel Sherlock.
Rachel Sherlock. Okay, that sounds awesome. That's brilliant.
If we can find her. Yeah, if we can find her, we'll link her in the bio as well. Thank you.
Yeah, might love to chat to her as well for the opportunity to.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. So we've got a brand owner, and we've got a new skateboarder. So we've got the brand owner and we've got the consumer. So, what is it, Faze, that you would look for when you're shopping for a board? And David, sort of, answering that. How would your product meet the needs and desires of a new consumer? You can choose who goes first.
It's kind of changed the way, like, as I've come into skateboarding, I was looking at the big brands initially, like we were speaking about the Americans. Like the deck I've got now, the Hated, it's amazing. It's probably lasted me the longest out of all the decks I've had, and it's a local company. I spent, I think, £5 more on it than I did on both brands. I think I got my other decks for about 45. Apart from my complete, but the other deck was about 45. This was 50, 51 or 52. I can't remember.
Okay.
I was happy to spend more with a local company, a British company, and a company that was like growing within the UK. Also, like the style of their skaters. What was with America, everything looks like it's smooth. It looks quite looks skatable. For example, the UK don't look like for example, where I'm in Grand Park Estate, you've got bricks everywhere, and I remember seeing kids, like as I said earlier, I love watching people skate, and people used to skate the estate, and I'm trying to do the same thing. It's impossible for me right now. I don't understand half of it. Like it's the levels that these kids must have had at that time must have been insane. So I appreciate the skaters from the UK and what they've had to go through to the levels they've had, and that's inspiring. So and I think they're doing that already. So I think. Anyway,
mate, that's a brilliant answer. Like, spot on. And you're absolutely right. Like, the UK, you can tell the difference between UK and American video because you can feel the gravel in your joints when you watch a UK video, and you can imagine just rolling and then suddenly getting thrown because your wheels fall into a gap that thick between a brick.
Yeah, but don't you love that? Like, that's what we have to offer, There's so little that makes me, I'm not like a nationalistic person at all, but we do that so good. Like, you know, how gutted would you be if you watched a heroin video and it looked like a girl video? Like, what girl do is amazing, but like you would never want like a death or a heroin video to look like that. You know,
you want to see like the British architecture. You want to see maybe a London cabbie, that sort of thing. You want to feel that home, you know, that home vibe.
I remember going to London with one of my mates, Jeff, who'd been skating together for a very long time, and he took me to Euston Banks, which are some brick banks just outside of Euston Station. And I remember skating those, and the whole time, like, bones just shaking. But it was one of the best sessions I've had in years. And we went around all of London, and like the really smooth spots we got kicked out of straight away. So we went to City Hall, which is covered, as I'm sure you're aware, it's all just smooth concrete and these lovely like marble blocks and things. We got chased out there in a second. So we found ourselves skating these really kind of like gnarly back alley spots that were just some of the best sessions I've ever had, and came back probably more scraped and scratched up than I've had. But it forces you to be so inventive, doesn't it?
Yeah, but even look at if you look at London, look at our famous spots, and then if you look at them objectively, look at South Bank. South Bank is nasty as fuck, really. Like, if you look at it, you know, it's amazing, and I love like how it's so regarded and how it's so famous. But the fact, like you said earlier about how we punch above our weight as a country, the fact that we've made that spot famous, if it wasn't for the scene surrounding it and the output, it would never have been as famous as it was, because it's horrible in a brilliant way. It's horrible. You know, it's nothing like those spots you see in Barca that are beautiful and almost designed to be skated. Like, South Bank is really fucking punishing, you know, it really is.
But you're right, it makes these video edits come out so much better. It really does. It's just so different, it's fresh. You won't find that sort of terrain anywhere else, you know.
So as a new skater as well, so like we got, as you said, the flat spots you get kicked out. So we found a spot in Wembley that was it was a drop-in, and it was full gravel. Like it wasn't flat at all. But the confidence, like I was scared. I was scared to do it. I see two guys do it, and I said, screw it, I'm gonna send it. So I laid it up, and you can literally what you said, you do feel your bones, but the confidence you get from that, and not just the camaraderie that you have around you. You know, when you're trying something constantly, and then the cheers you get at the end of it, it's insane. It puts a different kind of, it's different. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
it is.
It's great, isn't it?
Because it's like you know, when you skate a parks are great, and they are great, and I'm so glad we have them, so put that out there. But you're skating something that kind of wants you on it. They've thought, how can we make this accessible and comfortable for you? Whereas like when you do something like that, you feel like you've tamed a beast. You feel like that didn't want me on it. Like, I have overcome that obstacle, you know.
Like the good spots, the concrete parks, they're your generic. I don't know how much you guys game, but yeah, they're like the generic brutes that you have to slash your way through. And like the really gnarly brick, like dark, sketchy spots, those are the final boss. Like they're the bad boys.
Soon come.
Yeah.
So David, just going back to the question, and Faze answered his really well actually. What's up for consumer? How are you catering to consumers? Obviously, I imagine pricing is quite a hard thing to do, because equally you need to make a profit, but also not everyone can afford premium boards. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where some people can't necessarily afford the boards they want, and I imagine just balancing, that's quite a difficult tightrope to balance, you know, between profit margins and making it accessible. How are you approaching that?
So like I said, it has to be a quality product. So although, you know, we could go for decks made out of Chinese maple or European maple, which isn't so bad, Russian maple, we're not willing to sort of compromise on that. It's got to be Canadian maple. It's got to be cold pressed, which is the manufacturing process. It takes a little bit longer, but it produces a higher quality deck. And obviously make sure that the wood's been stored and cured in the right way. Price wise, I guess we are coming in a little bit cheaper than perhaps we should. But me and my partner in this, we said we're more in this for the fun than anything else. So let's just ride it out and see what happens. I think we're fairly priced. So the consumer's getting a good deal. I wouldn't say he's getting this extraordinary bargain, but it's very good value. And I guess also just making sure that we're in the right shops, making sure that we're currently stocked in Three Amigos skate shop, and the vibe that they give is so pro skateboarding. They live and breathe it there. They're not like any other shop that you'll find. They really live for it there. So making sure that we're in the right shops where we know that the salesman who's going to sell the deck to this person is it's also in their interest to make sure that the customer's happy. So I wouldn't say like the one chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter, but that's sort of the idea. The deck.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Guys, before we go, is there anything else that you want to plug, or any websites you want to direct us to, any pages? Do you have anything you want to say to everyone before you leave?
Yeah, sure. Give us a follow on at ONDA Skate. You can find our website as well. That's Instagram. You can find our website. It's just ondaskate.com. And yeah, we're up and coming brand. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so don't take us too seriously. And keep skating, guys, man. It's just such a great sport. It's such a great experience. It's not even just a sport. It's an art form. It's awesomeness. So just keep it up to the moon. I don't know.
I was gonna say, if you can check out my progress on Faze.sb, so you can see from when I basically started to where I am now, and you can get a good, like the last couple of videos on there as well. You get a good vibe of the community and what it's like at the park. So
Awesome.
Oh yeah, also tell them come on down to Montrose Skate Park. It's a brand new park and it's awesome. And if you come there, you'll definitely run into us.
So Faze, was that a website? Was that an Instagram account?
An Instagram account. It was faze.sb.
faze.sb. Brilliant. We'll give it a follow.
Oh, bro, are you okay? Oh shit.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Keep it crap.
Thank you so much. Catch you guys
everyone.
later.
All right,
Peace.
thank you.
If you love skateboarding but you're just not very good at jumping up and down on your favorite